Well, good morning, viewers. Today we have a 2012 Ram 2500 HD. It's got a gas engine though, and it's here because of a bunch of warning messages and lights on. Let's start it up and see what we have. Got the ABS light on, got the MIL on, service park assist message, service four-wheel drive message, traction control light on over here. So let's connect the scanner to this thing and see what codes it has to offer. Several months ago I did a modification to the TIPM because the ASD relay wasn't being powered on. TPMS problem is tire pressure sensor on the left rear, according to that, is dead. But that's a minor issue. So let's scan it and see what codes it has to offer. So as I said, I worked on this before, so I've loaded the vehicle record. Should automatically ID 220,131 kilometers. Display fitted systems. I bet you it's a speed sensor problem. Let's do a pre-scan. Implausible left wheel distance signal received. Now, is that left front or left rear? Evap small leak. Left rear wheel speed sensor signal erratic performance. Bet you there's some compromised wires. This vehicle gets driven on gravel roads and the rocks tend to pelt the wiring harness. Lost communication with trailer brake control module. Stored implausible data from ABS. Implausible data received from the IPM. Front control module TIPM. Low tire pressure active. Evap system leak detected. So the code of concern here is the one in the ABS. C1027, left rear wheel speed sensor signal erratic performance. So let's put it up on the hoist and do a visual inspection of the wiring to the left rear speed sensor. Well, we're standing underneath this truck here and the wiring doesn't look compromised. This is the left side here. Goes to the upper connector up there. Looks relatively new. I think I did something with the speed sensor wires before. Now, it would be nice if those two connectors were the same and we could just swap the two connectors left to right, but I believe they're keyed differently so that you don't inadvertently mix them up. But for diagnostic purposes, if I connect the right side circuit into the left side sensor and vice versa, and the code follows the sensor, then we know it's a sensor problem. Well, I'm going to see if I can do that. I'm going to look at my records on this thing. I think I did something to the rear speed sensor. Maybe the wiring along the frame here. There's a connector right there. That's usually problematic. Nice convenient spot right behind the left rear tire. Or left front tire, sorry. And the wiring harness runs on top of the frame up here, above the gas tank. Well, I'm going to see if I can swap those two connectors. That would be ideal. So the code that we had was C1027, left rear wheel speed sensor signal erratic performance. I've cleared the code and it won't come back. or it hasn't come back. So it's not an active wiring harness problem, but it could still be a wiring issue, but it could be the speed sensor reluctor, tone ring. It's inside the top hat of the parking brake assembly, which requires removal of the wheel and brake caliper and rotor to investigate. But I've cleared the code and it won't come back. Let's look at data. Let's build a custom data list. Deselect everything. Rear left speed, kilometers. Front right speed, rear right wheel speed, and front left. Graph these. So rear right and rear left, they're on opposite sides of the screen here. So in theory, if I run it, we should see a signal from that. So I'm going to climb up in the vehicle and start it and put it in gear. So the left rear wheel is turning. So I'm going to climb down and see what transpired. I shut the key off, but I turned it back on again so I wouldn't lose data. So we have no signal from the left rear. Let's pause this and replay it. Well, that's weird. We do have a signal, but nothing from the right rear. Maybe the wheel wasn't spinning because of the differential. I wasn't paying attention because I was in the cab of the vehicle, so I knew the left rear wheel was spinning, but you can see the right rear wheel didn't activate or didn't show anything. Well, possibly the wheel wasn't turning because of the differential. I knew the left one was turning because I could see it from the driver's seat, but the right one I couldn't see, so I'm going to have to repeat this. So they're both working. I think when I was spinning it with it in gear, the right rear tire wasn't turning because the brakes drag a little bit, so the differential was spinning free. Let's record it again. I'm going to turn it by hand. So I'm spinning the right rear, and the differential is causing the other one to turn the opposite direction. So they're both working, but down. So you can see the right speed sensor has a locating ear on the top. The left one doesn't have that. Otherwise they would interchange. So we're going to take a little X-Acto knife and cut that ear off and plug the right side sensor into the left and the left into the right, and then go for a road test and see if we get an erratic signal. So now on the road test, the other three speed sensors were showing 30 miles an hour or 30 kilometers an hour, and then the right rear now jumped up to 655 kilometers an hour. It's an auto ranging graph, so this graph goes from 0 to 655, so it looks like it went from 0, but it's actually 30. And if I go back and let's save this recording. Okay, let's go back and look for codes. Codes menu. Oh. C1032, right rear wheel speed sensor signal erratic performance. So because it followed the speed sensor, I've got the left side plugged into the right circuit and vice versa. That would indicate that it's the speed sensor itself. So we're going to order up a speed sensor and put it in the left rear. So Snap-on has this software suite called ShopStream Connect. And it's actually free, and the word free and Snap-on are not usually in the same sentence, but in this case it's a free software suite that you can download from Snap-on that allows you to replay recordings that you take on pretty much any of their scan tools, from the Solus all the way up to current scan tools and lab scopes, and manipulate the data. So here we see the recording that I did, and you see there was a signal up to about here, and then all of a sudden it dropped out. So again, because I've connected the right rear to the left circuit and vice versa, that means that it's the speed sensor that's acting up. So we're going to look it up and see if we can get one sent out. So I removed that bracket because it goes over top of the speed sensor right here. And this is not looking pretty. Hopefully this attaching bolt goes into a blind hole, because if the threads are exposed on the other side, this bolt's probably going to break. Oh, brother. It's bad enough to get these 13/16 21 millimeter bolts out, double offset box end, to get the upper bolt, because you can't get a socket in here. There's not enough room between the spring and the bolt. Well, let's see if we can get this 10 mil out of here. So I managed to get that 6 mil bolt out. I worked it back and forth for like 45 minutes. It would come out a quarter turn. The end of the bolt goes past the casting. It's threaded in this back piece, not the front piece. At least I don't think so anyways. But regardless, I got it out, and the speed sensor came out. There it is there. It's not damaged, so that's a good sign. Going to clean the hole out with probably a battery post cleaner or wire brush or something. Wire wheel with the reluctor is in about 2 inches, so we got to stay away from the reluctor. So I've got a bore scope looking at the speed sensor reluctor, and I've turned the wheel a revolution, a full turn, and there's no damaged teeth. Now that would have created a dropout immediately. It wouldn't have went 30 kilometers an hour before it dropped out. So I also blew the excess dust out of there with the air hose. Oh, I'm waiting for the speed sensor. So there's the part number of the left rear speed sensor. Just got it, put it in. Connected it, routed the wiring harness. You can see that bracket covers up the speed sensor, so you have to remove that bracket. And the left side goes to the upper connector up there, in case you're wondering, but I marked it on the frame with a letter L in white paint. So we're going to take it for a road test, and hopefully it's going to be fixed. Well, there's all the speed sensors working properly now. That's recorded over about a 5-kilometer drive. So they're all matching, and no lights on and no fault code. So we're going to call this one fixed. Thanks for watching.